Welcome. Well, as you can currently see, the state of my room is something. And you can't even see what the desk looks like or the floor. It's not the worst it's ever been for my room, but it needs to be cleaned. And Cole's not here because she's currently at school, so I can't have her sit on my bed and make me clean. So, because it needs to get cleaned, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put this on a time lapse, and you're gonna hold me accountable for cleaning my room. I don't know if I'm gonna have this be a public video or not. That just depends on how bad the time lapse looks. Because if the time lapse looks fine, then I don't really care. Because I'm all for an advocate of like sometimes you just gotta clean your room when you've had a rough time. Like it'll make you feel better, and I think that's a good philosophy. So I don't mind that being public. But it's how bad is my room actually, and how much of that do I want to share to the public? The public of the 10 subscribers, 8 of who are family. You know. But yeah, on with the time lapse.
In little corners. I'm keeping this in.
Good!
Okay. So, conjugation works when two bacterial cells in close proximity form a pilus. It's the bridge. Arms up. A pilus is a hollow bridge that will act as a tunnel to send plasmids through. One of our bacterial cells will have a plasmid already, and it will replicate a single strand plasmid and give it to the other bacterial cell. The pilus will then drop, and then the new bacterial cell with the new plasmid will replicate and put it into its genetic coding. Bacterial cells do this to gain advantages, such as antibiotic resistance. Okay. Gene. A new. What was it? A new target protein, or. I'm coming.
Get out of here!
Shoo! You kid.
How could you?
Okay.
Okay.
Dogs not make us into plants. Push it out a little more. Mutation occurs. Hold on. I just lost my train of thought because you went like that. Okay. Mutation occurs. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Get out of here.
Shoo! Mutation occurs when a bacterial cell has been exposed to an antibiotic for too long. The bacterial cell's DNA will mutate to create a new target protein, gyrase, which will then change the shape of the enzyme. Usually, when an antibiotic comes in, it will bind to the bacterial cell. But because the DNA mutated, a fluorochlorine will then go straight through, will not affect the bacterial cell because it can no longer bind to the topoimerase because, again, the enzyme has changed shape. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, let's do it. Wow. No, Cassie, you gotta get it together. Get it together.
Get closer. I can't walk that far without laughing. It tastes like.
Get it together.
One more time. It tastes like the war.
Please don't make me eat it, Tigress.
It tastes like the war.
Oh, do your Flickerman impression with the can.
It tastes like the war.
Mother walked away. Hi, I'm Bree.
That would be a choice.
Hello, I'm Bree, and today I'm joined with my sister.
Cassidy, hi!
So, Cassidy, what do you want? So why don't you tell us a little bit about your disability so everyone can understand?
Hi everyone. So I'm Cassidy, and when I was 8 years old, I competed gymnastics my whole life. But when I was 8 years old, I tore a muscle in my hip. I tore my labrum, and ever since then, I've had kind of a constant clicking in my hip and pain in my hip, and it's kind of traveled around like the back of my hip as well and down my leg. And so pretty much every day since then I've had this pain in my leg, and so that just kind of throughout life I've had to find ways to work around it and to make it hurt less. And yeah, that's just
Going off, what are some ways that you have found that help manage your day-to-day life with the disability?
so it's kind of a weird thing because with a injury or disability like that, you may think that it would hurt more when I'm walking or being active, but actually the worst pain that I tend to get is sitting, like how I am right now with my legs at like a 90-degree angle. And so that makes school and studying kind of difficult sometimes, just because when I have to study for long hours, it can be really difficult to just have to sit still and stay there. And so taking breaks or finding chairs that are a little more mobile that I'm able to move around in and switch positions has been really helpful. And I always have my pain cream, and just I always am getting up and like walking around the library and taking breaks, stuff like that, and stretching a lot too. I also really like skating. I think because with walking it's more of a harsher motion because you feel each step, but with roller skating it's more of a smooth gliding motion. And so I really enjoy doing that because it's something that's active that I don't really feel the stress on my hip as much. So
Interesting. With your disability, have you found that you are still able to do everything in life that you want to do, or have you found that it has really impacted you? Or
I've thankfully still been able to do everything that I've wanted to do, but it does come with challenges sometimes. Like I mentioned, school can be really difficult sometimes just because having to sit in an hour lecture, or if I want to go to a concert or a show, it can be really difficult to just have to sit in that position in times when you're not allowed to move. I do find that sometimes I still love to tumble and do gymnastics and stuff, but it does take a toll on my hip and everything, and I probably should not do all of the skills that I sometimes like to do because it's probably not good for it. But
well, speaking of gymnastics, besides just gymnastics, what else do you like to do in your free time?
well, as I mentioned earlier, I love skating. I also really love like making videos, whether it's silly stuff of my family or just stuff that I like. I love reading so much and just like analyzing things. I'm like a girl who annotates stuff for fun. I love reading, I love writing, I really like poetry. I love Taylor Swift, I love Harry Potter. Yeah, so those are just some things, and I'm actually graduating in 5 days as the duck. I'm graduating in 5 days from UCF, so that's really exciting. And Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing what your life is like with your disability.
You are so welcome, and I hope you all have a wonderful winter break and holiday season.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
I'd just be talking.
Steal my phrase.
What if I ask, so what are these decorations for?
Why don't you say
What is
explain
this
this duck
Yeah.
to me, and then I'll say I'm graduating, and you can say what's next for you.
Yeah, perfect. Explain the duck.
Explain the duck.
Let me organize these questions.
You probably should do that.
So, Kaz, what would you like?
Up and down through my leg, and so every day since then I've lived with this chronic pain in my hip and my leg, and so it's just been living with that.
Speaking about living, how do you find...
Hello? Speaking about living.
I'm gonna keep this in. So...
Are you really? Speaking about living. Speaking of being alive. Okay.
How does this disability affect your day-to-day life?
So, the way it impacts me the most, and it's kind of interesting because with entire life now.
Speaking about living.
Speaking of living?
Speaking of living, you know, how does your disability you found impact your day-to-day life? You know, living.
So, it's kind of an interesting thing because with an injury of this nature, it's something that you may think would hurt the most when I'm being active, like walking. However, though, it really affects me the most when I'm sitting down and with my legs at like a normal 90-degree angle, like how you would sit at any chair or in class. It's just a really difficult position for me to sit in for long periods of time. And so that's something that can make class really difficult, especially. So I'm always, getting up in the library when I'm studying, taking breaks, walking around a little bit. Stretching helps a lot. I always have my pain cream, stuff like that. Really helps.
Would you prefer to stand right now?
Thank you for asking, but that's okay for now. It's okay for short periods of time.
Okay.
But it is always nice to have the option with certain things.
Yes. What are some things that people can do to be more inclusive to people with an invisible disability?
Having options, honestly, is one of the best things. Like, I'm currently a student at UCF for 5 more days. But in the library, they have so many different seating options, which is really, really helpful because it can be, since, I have to study for long periods of time to go over my coursework, it's really helpful to have all of those different seating options or even being able to stand at desks. That's really one of the most helpful things is just having options regardless of anything. It just really helps to be able to do what you need to do to take care of yourself.
Have you found that while you have been living with this disability, that people won't always believe you when you try to explain it to them just because they can't see it?
Yeah, I have noticed that sometimes, especially because with the nature of my injury and disability, it's like she said, you can't see it, but also it doesn't always make sense because it's kind of hard to explain to someone that the worst it hurts is when you're sitting down, because usually or at least a lot of time when people are in pain, the first thing they want to do is sit down to be able to get relief. But with me, it's kind of a catch-22 because I do need to sit down because I can't stand the pain anymore, but also sitting down can sometimes make it worse. And so that's kind of difficult to explain to someone, especially since it's not something you can see. And yeah,
So I remember you mentioning earlier that you did gymnastics and cheerleading. What else do you like to do in your life?
Well, I really love gymnastics and cheer, and even though I don't personally compete anymore, I also am a coach. I've coached gymnastics over the years and also coached tumbling and cheerleading. Like right now, for example, we just wrapped up a season of cheerleading with Pop Warner. I'm a coach for the Challengers team with Pop Warner, and it was an amazing season. I love working with the girls so much. I also really love skating. That's actually one of my favorite things to do, and I feel like helps with my hip a lot because with walking, and I can't run, but with walking, it's still like a very harsh motion because you feel every step, but with skating, it's a smoother gliding motion. And so that's like an exercise I really love to do. I love stretching, I love reading, I love writing, love poetry, just a bunch of different things.
So you mentioned you were graduating. Does the duck have anything to do with that?
Yes, the duck is very relevant because that's a big symbol at UCF with Spirit Splash, and so this is my duck because I got in the pond to do my grad pictures. It was freezing cold, but I'm very excited.
While on the topic of graduation, what are your plans for your life?
So in the future, I'm looking to apply to law school. So that's what I'll be doing after I graduate, is studying for the LSAT, which is the admissions exam, and applying to law school and going from there. So woohoo!
Alright, well, thank you so much for sitting down and doing this video with me.
Thank you so much for listening. I've appreciated this.
Always.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice winter break and holidays.
Hey, Kezzy. Editor Breezy here. As you can tell, Blanky is on, cozied up, Sprite over there. But yeah, I just wanted to say I hope you enjoyed speaking on it, and by it, I mean life. I've had so much fun speaking on it with you. Speaking on it, speaking about it, speaking of it, speaking all about it. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. And the reason why, just for context, like, I was scrolling through my phone and I found the old biomed project that I had to do. And since, you know, we were talking about transcription and translation, I was like, well, we'll do conjugation, the next best thing. The next baby girl, next in line. And then I scrolled, like, literally the videos before the Speak On It project clip were the lima bean ones, and I was like, well, it's a Hunger Games year, it's too good not to have. But yeah, and for anyone who's made it this far, I hope you enjoyed seeing how we speak on it through the years. And yeah, crazy how in that video you wanted to go to law school. Hey, guess what? You're there talking about the disability, wanting to study disability law. Guys, low-key manifestation. Like, you spoke it and it happened, so speak on it. And that's the moral for this video. Just speak on it. Alright, I will see you next week. Bye, Cassie.